Om Sai Ram, Sai Satcharita, Chapter 7. Wonderful incarnation, behavior of Sai Baba, his yoga practices, his all persiveness, leper devotee service, Master Karpade's plague case, going to Pandrapur. Wonderful incarnation. Sai Baba knew all yogic practices. He was well versed in the 6 processes, including Dauti, stomach cleaning by a moistened piece of linen, 3 in breadth and 22 and a half in length. Kanda yoga, that is separating his limbs and joining them again, and samadhi, etc. If you think that he was a Hindu, he looked like an Yavan. If you think him to be a Yavan, he looked like a pious Hindu. No one definitely knew whether he was a Hindu or a Mohammedan. He celebrated the Hindu festival of Ramanavami with all due formalities and at the same time permitted the sandal procession of the Mohammedans. He encouraged wrestling bouts in this festival and gave good prizes to winners. When the Gokulashtami came, he got the Gopakala ceremony duly performed, and on Eid festival he allowed Mohammedans to say their prayers in his masjid. Once in the Muharram festival, some Mohammedan proposed to construct a tajia or tabut in the masjid, kept it there for some days, and afterward to take it in a procession through the village. Sai Baba allowed the keeping of the tabut for 4 days, and on the 5th day they removed it out of the masjid without the least compulsion. If we say that he was a Mohammedan, his ears were pierced. If you think that he was a Hindu, he advocated the practice of circumcision. According to Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar, who observed him closely, he was not himself circumcised. White article in Sai Leela on Baba Hindu Ki Yavan by B.V. Devo, page 562. If you call him Hindu, he always lived in the masjid. If Mohammedan, he had always duni, a sacred fire there, and the following the things which are contrary to Mohammedan religion. That is grinding on the hand mill, blowing of the conch and bells, oblation in the fire, bhajan, giving of food and worship of Baba's feet by means of arghya, that is water, were always allowed there. If you think he was a Mohammedan, the best of the Brahmins and Agnihotris, leaving aside their orthodox ways, fell prostrate at his feet. Those who went to make an inquiries about his nationality were dumbfounded and were captured by his darshana. So none could definitely decide whether Baba was a Hindu or a Mohammedan. If you see below this paragraph, there is no wonder, for he who completely surrenders himself to the Lord by getting rid of his egoism and body conscious thus becomes one with him, and has nothing to do with the questions of caste or nationality. Such a one as Baba was, saw no difference between the caste and caste, and even beings and beings. He took meat and fish with fakis, but did not grumble when dogs touched the dishes with their mouth. Note 1. Malsapati, an intimate Shirdi devotee of Baba, who always slept with him in the masjid and Chavdi, said that Baba told him that he was a Brahmin of Patri and was handed over to Fakir in his infancy. And when he told this, some men of Patri had come, and Baba was inquiring about some men from that place. White, Sai Leela, 1924, page 179. Mistress Kashibai Kantikar, the famous learned woman of Pune, says that the experience number 8, published on the page 79, Sai Leela, volume 11, 1934, on hearing of Baba's miracle, if we were discussing to a theosophic convention and fashion whether Sai Baba belonged to black or white lodge. Once I went to Shirdi, I was thinking seriously about this in my mind. As soon as I approached the steps of Masjid, Baba came in front of me and pointing to his chest and staring at me, spoke rather vehemently. This is a Brahmin, pure Brahmin. He was nothing to do with black things. No Mussulman can dare to step in here. He dare not. Again pointing to this Brahmin cannot bring lack of men on white path and take them to their destination. This is a Brahmin masjid, and I won't allow any black Mohammedan to cast their shadow here. Such a unique and wonderful incarnation of Sai Baba. On account of the merits in my past birth, I had good fortune to sit at his feet and enjoy his blessed company. The joy and delight I derived therefore from was incomparable. In fact, Sai Baba was a pure Anand and consciousness. I cannot sufficiently describe him, his greatness and uniqueness. He who took delight at his feet, he was established in his own self. Many sannyasis, sadhakas, and all sorts of men aspiring for salvation came to Sai Baba. He always walked, talked, and laughed with them, and always uttered with his tongue, Allah Malik, God is the sole owner. He never liked discussion or arguments. He was always calm and controlled to the irritable at times, always preached full Vedanta, and nobody knew till last who was Baba. Princes and poor people were treated alike by him. He knew the most expressive to them. All were surprised. He was the repository of all knowledge. Still, he finds ignorance. He also disliked honor, such were characteristics of Sai Baba. Though he had a human body, his deeds testified to his godhood. All people considered him as the Lord in the Shirdi. Behavior of Sai Baba. Fool that I am, I cannot describe Baba's miracle. He got almost all the temples in Shirdi repaired through Tatya Patil. The temples of Shani, Ganapati, Shankara, Parvati, village deity, and Maruti were put in order. His charity was also remarkable. The money he used to collect as dakshina was freely distributed at 20 rupees 20 to some 15 or 50 to others every day. The recipients thought that this was pure charity money, and Baba wished that it should be fully employed. Usefully employed. People were immensely benefited by having a darshan of Baba. Some became hale and hearty. Wicked people were turned into good ones. Kusta was cured. In some cases, many got of their desires fulfilled without any drops of medicine being put on their eyes. Some blind men got back their sight, and some lame ones got back their legs. Nobody could see the end of his extraordinary greatness. His fame was spread far and wide, and pilgrims from all sides flocked to Shirdi. Baba sat always near the Duni and eased himself there, and always sat in the meditation, sometimes with and on there, sometimes without a bath. He used to tie a white turban on his head and wear a clean dhotar round his waist and shirt on his body. This was his dress in the beginning. He started practicing medicine in the village, examined patients and gave medicines. He was always successful, and he became a famous as Hakim. A curious case may be narrated here. A devotee got his eyeball quite red and swollen. No doctor was available in Shirdi. The devotees took him to Baba. Other doctors would use ointments, unguents, cow's milk, and camphor drugs, etc. In such cases, Baba's remedy was quite unique. He pounded some biba or some carpus anacardium, that is making nuts, and made 2 balls of them, thrust them on each eye of the patient, and wrapped a cloth bandage round them. Next day, the bandage was removed and water poured over them in a steam. The inflammation subsided, the pupils became white and clear, though the eyes were very delicate. The biba caused no smarting, but removed the sight of the eyes. Many such cases were cured, and this is an only instance in point. Baba Yoga practices. Baba knew all the processes and practices of yoga. 2 of them will be described here. Dhoti or cleaning process. Baba went to the well near a banyan tree at a considerable distance from the masjid every third day and washed his mouth and had a bath. On one occasion, he has seen to vomit out his intestines, clean them inside out, and place them on a jam tree for drying. There are people in Shirdi who have actually seen this, who have testified to this fact. Ordinary dhoti is done by a Boston piece of linen 3 inches broad and 22.5 inches long. This piece is gulped down the throat and allowed to remain in the stomach for about half an hour for being reacted there and taken out. But Baba's dhoti was quite unique and extraordinary. Kanda Yoga. In this practice, Baba extracted the various limbs from his body and left them left them separately at different places in the masjid. Once a gentleman went to the masjid and saw limbs of Baba lying there at separate places. He was much terrified, and first he thought running to the village officers and informing them of Baba being hacked to pieces and murdered. He thought that he would be held responsible as he was the first informant and knew something of the affair. So he kept silent. But next day, when he went to masjid, he was very much surprised to see Baba hale and hearty and sound as before. He thought that he what he had seen the previous day was only a dream. Papa practiced yoga since his infancy and nobody knew or guessed the proficiency he attained. He charged no fees for his cures, became renowned and famous by virtue of his merits, gave health to many poor and suffering persons. This famous doctor of doctors cared not for his interest but always worked for the good and welfare of others, himself suffering unbearable and terrible pain many a time in the process. One such instance I give below, which will show all the pervasive and most merciful characteristic of Sai Baba. Baba's all persiveness and mercy. In the year 1910 AD, Baba was sitting near Duni on a Deepavali holiday, and warming himself, he was pushing a firewood into the duni, which was brightly burning. A little later, instead of pushing a logs of wood, Baba pushed his arm into the duni. The arm was scorched and burnt immediately. This was noticed by the servant Madhava and also by Madhavrao Deshpande Shama. They at once ran to Baba, and Madhavrao clasped Baba's by his waist from and dragged him forcibly back and asked, Deva, for what have you done this? Then Baba came back to his senses and replied, the wife of a blacksmith at some distant place was working the bellows of a furnace. Her husband called her. Forgetting that her child was on her way, she ran hastily, and the child slipped into the furnace. I immediately thrust my hand into the furnace and saved the child. I do not mind my arm being burnt, but I am glad that the life of the child is saved. Leper devotee's service. On hearing the news of the Baba's hand being burnt from Shama, Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar, accompanied by the famous Dr. Paramanand of Bombay with his medical outfit consisting of ointments, lint and bandage, etc., rushed to Shirdi and requested to allow Dr. Paramanand to examine the arm and dress the wound caused by the burn. This was refused. Ever since the burn, the arm was dressed by the leper devotee Bagoji Shinde. His treatment consisted in massaging the burned part with ghee and placing a leaf over it and bandaging it tightly with pattis. Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar solicited Baba many a time to unfasten the pattis and get wound examined and dressed and treated by Dr. Paramanand with the object that it might be speedily healed. Dr. Paramanand himself made similar requests, but Baba postponed, saying that Allah was his doctor and did not allow his arm to be examined. Dr. Paramanand's medicines were not exposed to their hair of Shirdi as remained intact. But he had the good fortune of getting a darshan of Baba. Bagoji was allowed to treat the hand daily. After some days, the harm healed and all were happy. Still, we do not know whether any trace of pain was left or not. Every morning, Bagoji taught his program of loosening the pattis, massaging the arm with ghee and tightly bandaging it again. This went on till Baba's Samadhi. Sai Baba, perfect Siddha as he was, did not really want this treatment, but out of love of his devotee, he allowed Upasana, service of Bagoji, to go on uninterrupted all along. When Baba started for Lendi, Bagoji held an umbrella over him and accompanied him. Every morning, when Baba sat near the post close to the Duni, Bagoji was present and started his service. Bagoji was a sinner in his past birth. He was suffering from leprosy. His fingers had shrunk. His body was full of pus and smelling badly. Though outwardly he seemed so unfortunate, he was really very lucky and happy, for he was the servant of Baba and got the benefit of his company. Master Karpade's plague case. I shall now relate another instance of Baba's wonderful Leela. Mr. Karpade, the wife of Mr. Dada Sahib Karpade of Amaravati. He was staying at Shirdi with her young son for some days. One day the son got high fever, which further developed into bubonic plague. The mother was frightened and felt most uneasy. She thought of leaving the place for Amroti and went near Baba in the evening. When he was coming near the Vada house Samadhi Mandir in his evening round asking his permission, she informed him in a trembling tone that her dear young son was down with plague. Baba spoke kindly and soft to her, saying that the sky is besieged with the cloud, but they will melt and pass off, and everything will be smooth and clear. So saying, he lifted up his scarf knee to the waist and showed to all present four fully developed bubbles as big as eggs, and added, "See how I have to suffer my devotees. Their difficulties are mine." Seeing this unique and extraordinary Leela, the people were convinced as to how the saints suffer for their devotees. The mind of the saints is softer than wax. It is soft in and out as butter. They love their devotees without any idea of gain and regard them as their true relatives. Going to Pandharpur and staying there. I shall now close this chapter after relating a story illustrating how Sai Baba loved his devotees and anticipated their wishes and moments. Mr. Nana Sahib Chandorkar, who was Mamalthad and at Nandurbar in Kandesh, he got an order to transfer to Pandharpur. His devotion of Sai Baba bore fruit as he got an order to go and stay at Pandharpur, which is regarded as Bhuvaikuntha, heaven on earth. Nana Sahib had to take immediate charge, so he left immediately for the place without even writing or informing anybody at Shirdi. He wanted to give a surprise visit to Shirdi, his Pandharpur, see and settle his Vitoba, and then proceed. Nobody dreamt of Nana Sahib departure for Shirdi, but Sai Baba knew all about this. As his eyes were everywhere, omniscient, as soon as Nana Sahib approached Neepgaon, few miles from Shirdi, there was a stir in the masjid at Shirdi. Baba was sitting and talking with Malsapati, Appa Shinde and Kashiram, when he at once said, "Let's all four do some bhajan. The doors of Pandari are open. Let us merely sing." Then they began to sing in chorus, the burden of the song being, "I have to go to Pandharpur and I have to stay there, for it is my house of my Lord." Baba sang and the devotees followed him. In a short time, Nana Sahib came there with his family, prostrated before Baba and requested him to accompany to them to Pandharpur and stay with them there. His solicitation was not necessary, as the devotees told Nana Sahib that Baba was already in the mood of going to Pandharpur and staying there. Hearing all this, Nana Sahib was moved and fell at Baba's feet. Then, getting Baba's permission, Udi and blessings, Nana Sahib left for Pandharpur. There is no end to Baba's story, but let me now make a halt here, reserving for the next chapter other topics such as importance of human life, Baba's living on alms, Baijabai service, and other stories. Bow to Sri Sai, peace to all. Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj ki jai. I thank Baba for giving me an opportunity to read this. Om Sai Ram.